Chosen one, there are moments in your life that shift the atmosphere, moments where heaven itself leans in to watch. What you just did, the choice you made, the stand you took, was one of those moments. You may not have felt the full weight of it at the time, but the unseen realm erupted in celebration. Your obedience, your courage, your refusal to bow to pressure. It moved more than your life forward. It sent a ripple through eternity. Angels do not rejoice over ordinary choices. They rejoice over acts that align perfectly with the will of God. And in that moment, you became an instrument of His will, a vessel of His glory, and the answer to a prayer you didn't even know someone else had prayed. Before we go deeper, watch this video until the end, because something powerful happens when chosen ones unite in understanding. And in the comments, write your warmest wishes and 144, a declaration that you are ready to send your energy into the universe, that you are prepared to release blessings not just for yourself, but for others. This simple act is not just a statement, it's a seed, and seeds produce harvests when sown with intention. Now, chosen one, show your light by liking this video and subscribe to the channel, and let's step into this together. That last move you made wasn't just about you. It was a signal, a divine announcement that you are not willing to be moved by fear, manipulation, or distractions. The enemy may have expected you to falter, to take the easy way out, or to let doubt poison your steps. But instead, you acted with integrity. You chose truth over comfort. You placed faith above logic. And that's why angels rejoiced. Not because it was easy, but because it was costly. Because you understood something that many never do. The weight of obedience far outweighs the weight of regret. This is why the spiritual realm is shifting in your favor right now. Your move has set things in motion that you cannot yet see. People are about to show up in your life who are answers to the very prayers you've been whispering for months or even years. Doors you thought were locked are going to swing open because your last action was the key. You didn't just do the right thing, you aligned yourself with a timing and a purpose so precise that heaven had no choice but to respond. And when heaven responds, nothing in hell can stop it. You see, angels don't just rejoice for the sake of celebration. They rejoice because your action created legal permission in the Spirit for God's will to advance in your life. There are things that were being held back, blessings, promotions, revelations that are now being released because of your choice. You think it was just one decision, but it was more than that. It was a declaration. It was a battle cry. It was a spiritual shift so powerful that even those who don't believe will begin to notice something different about you. And let me tell you something. This is only the beginning. When angels rejoice, it's a sign that a new chapter has started. It's a sign that the warfare you've been facing was not in vain. Every tear you cried, every moment you felt overlooked, every night you went to sleep wondering if it was all worth it. This moment is proof that it was. The joy of heaven is not random. It's intentional. It's a reflection of what God is about to do next in your life. What you must do now is protect the atmosphere you've created. After a spiritual victory, the enemy often tries to sow seeds of doubt, distraction, or delay. He wants you to question if you really heard God. He wants you to think that maybe it wasn't that significant after all. Don't let him rob you of the truth. You didn't just make a move. You made a mark. And that mark is going to echo into the days, weeks, and years ahead. Every angel that rejoiced at your obedience is now assigned to guard what you've stepped into. Your next steps will be covered. Your path will be illuminated. You may still face resistance, but it won't have the same power over you it once did. Wait, because you've proven you can be trusted with more. You've proven that your faith isn't conditional on circumstances, and heaven rewards that kind of faith. So walk boldly now. Speak with authority. Move with confidence. Not arrogance, but with the quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you are backed by the very hosts of heaven. And remember, chosen one, this was not your last victory. It was simply the one that made all of heaven stand and clap. Chosen one, part of the reason this last move carried so much weight is because it wasn't made from a place of desperation, it was made from a place of alignment. You weren't scrambling for approval. You weren't chasing validation. You weren't trying to impress the wrong audience. You acted from the authority that comes when you know exactly who you are and exactly whose you are. That's why the atmosphere shifted. That's why it felt different. You've been through seasons where your actions were fueled by fear, fear of missing out, fear of rejection, fear of failure. But this was different. This time you acted from conviction, not from panic. You didn't just move, you moved with precision. And in the spiritual realm, precision is power. Heaven responds not to noise, but to accuracy. It's not about how loud you are, it's about how aligned you are. The beauty of this is that you didn't even need to announce what you were doing to everyone. You didn't call a meeting. You didn't post for validation. You simply moved. And while the physical world may not fully understand the depth of your decision yet, the spiritual world took note immediately. That's why there was rejoicing. That's why there was movement in the unseen. Angels don't respond to performance. They respond to obedience. But here's the deeper truth. This move didn't just shift your path. It shifted the paths of those connected to you. There are people you've never met, people whose names you don't even know yet, who will one day tell you that a door opened for them because of something you did in this season. Your decision created ripples that will keep spreading far beyond your lifetime. And that is why it was celebrated in heaven, because God sees the entire chain reaction your choice set in motion. You may have wondered why the resistance before this moment felt so heavy. It's because the enemy knew what would happen if you followed through. He knew that if you obeyed in this specific moment, his plans would unravel. He threw distraction after distraction, doubt after doubt, just to get you to delay. But you didn't delay, you acted. And by doing so, you robbed him of an opportunity to derail your purpose. This is why I need you to understand the significance of timing. In the kingdom, timing is just as important as obedience. You could obey at the wrong time and miss the full weight of the blessing. But you, chosen one, obeyed at the appointed time. You acted when heaven was ready to release what it had been holding for you. That's why the response was immediate. That's why the breakthrough didn't need a long waiting period. When the right action meets the right moment, acceleration happens. You might not see all of it yet, but in the spirit, the pages have already turned. What was once delayed is now advancing. What was once withheld is now being released. And it's not just about material blessings. It's about influence, authority, and the weight of the presence you carry into every room. From this point on, your life is going to feel different. People will respond differently to you. Opportunities will feel drawn to you. Not because you're chasing them, but because the fragrance of obedience is on you, and heaven always funds obedience. The days ahead are going to test how much you value what you've stepped into. This is not the time to get casual or careless. This is the time to steward the momentum you've been given. Protect your peace. Guard your environment. Speak life into what God has placed in your hands. Every decision from here matters, because you are not just walking for yourself, you are carrying a victory that heaven intends to multiply. Chosen one, understand this. Your last move made angels rejoice, but your next moves will determine how long this wave carries you. Don't slow down now. Don't get distracted by applause or by opposition. Keep your eyes locked on the one who gave the command in the first place. Because if this is how much heaven celebrated one act of obedience, imagine what will happen when you make a lifestyle out of it. Chosen one, what you may not fully realize yet is that obedience at this level doesn't just shift seasons, it changes spiritual rankings. Your last move was more than a good decision. It was a declaration in the spirit realm that you are no longer available for cycles that drain you, for distractions that delay you, and for patterns that keep you small. That declaration was heard in heaven and noted in hell. The angels rejoiced because they knew this move marked the end of certain battles you've been fighting for years. The chains you broke in this moment were not just for you. They were generational. There are burdens your family carried for decades that will never return. All because you decided to stand in obedience rather than bow to convenience. This is why the celebration was so intense. It wasn't just for the present victory, it was for the futures you secured. Understand this. In the kingdom, some moments are heavy with eternal weight. They may look ordinary on the outside, but in the spiritual dimension, they echo for lifetimes. That last step you took was one of those moments. It was as if heaven marked it on the calendar and said, "This is the day everything changes." You may not have even felt the full weight of it yet, but you will. Here's what happens after a moment like this. The atmosphere around you shifts. Suddenly, people start to sense something different about you, even if they can't explain it. They might treat you with more respect, or in some cases, more resistance. That's because the authority you carry now either calls people higher or exposes where they're unwilling to go. Some will be drawn to you, others will distance themselves. Both are divine responses, and this is where your discernment becomes your greatest asset. Not everyone who celebrates you is assigned to you, and not everyone who stays silent is against you. Some are simply watching, unsure how to approach what they now recognize in you. Others are waiting for an opportunity to benefit from your obedience without carrying the cost. That's why wisdom must guide your next steps. You've stepped into a realm where access must be earned, not given freely. What you carry now is not casual, it's costly. The oil on your life came through pressing, crushing, and stretching that others didn't see. And because they didn't see the process, they may try to undervalue the product. But you must never let anyone convince you to discount what heaven has invested in you. There will also be tests, not to punish you, but to prove you. The very areas where you once struggled will try to present themselves again, just to see if your new level of obedience is consistent or circumstantial. These are not setbacks. They are opportunities to confirm to both heaven and hell that your decision was not a one-time event, but a permanent shift in posture. And here's the thing, when you keep choosing obedience after the breakthrough, that's when heaven doesn't just rejoice, it invests. God begins to pour more into your hands because you've shown you can handle it without losing your focus. Influence grows, favor increases, resources multiply, and all of it happens without you forcing it. Because favor chases those who consistently choose God over convenience. This is the season where you start to see the reward of the unseen battles. The quiet yes you gave when no one was watching will start producing loud evidence that everyone can see. And when they ask you how it happened, your answer will be simple: I just obeyed. Because in the kingdom, obedience is the seed that never fails to bear fruit. Chosen one, after a heaven-marked move like the one you just made, the atmosphere around your life is no longer neutral. You are no longer just existing in the flow of time, you are now moving in prophetic timing. That means everything around you begins to rearrange to match the decision you made in alignment with God's will. It's not coincidence when doors start opening without effort. It's not luck when opportunities show up at your doorstep. This is divine response. Your obedience sent a signal to heaven that you are ready to carry more. But it also sent a signal to hell that the tactics once used against you are now powerless. This is why certain situations or people may suddenly fall away from your life. It's not rejection, it's God clearing the atmosphere so nothing can contaminate the new oil you now carry. You don't need to chase what left. If it could not stay after your breakthrough, it was not built for your next season. One of the most dangerous traps in this new place is the temptation to explain yourself to everyone. You may feel the urge to make them understand why you moved the way you did, why you walked away from certain patterns, or why you said yes when it looked impossible. But chosen one, not everyone is meant to understand your assignment, because understanding it without living it would cheapen its value. This is the phase where the rewards of your obedience begin to unfold in layers. First, there is the internal shift, peace that feels heavier than your fears, clarity that drowns out confusion, and a confidence that no longer needs validation. Then, there is the external shift, resources that seem to find you instead of you finding them, people assigned to your purpose showing up in perfect timing, and pathways opening that were once blocked. But make no mistake, this is also the phase where resistance tries to disguise itself as reason. Thoughts will try to convince you that your last move was too bold, too risky, or too out of the ordinary. Some people will project their fear onto your faith, telling you to slow down or return to what feels safe. But you didn't get here by playing it safe. You got here by stepping when heaven said step. And in this season, safe is dangerous if it's outside of God's instruction. You're going to notice something else. Favor feels different when it's earned through obedience instead of hustling through your own strength. It doesn't burn you out. It doesn't require manipulation. It doesn't demand you to be someone you're not. It simply flows because you've aligned your life with the one who owns it all. That's why the angels rejoiced at your last move. They know favor will now follow you like a shadow, not because of who you are, but because of what you've chosen to stand for. And this is where your focus becomes your shield. The enemy knows he cannot steal what heaven has placed in your hands unless he distracts you from it. So distractions will come, some obvious, others subtle. The subtle ones are the most dangerous, because they will feel harmless at first. A small compromise here, a delayed prayer there, a casual attitude toward what God called sacred. But you must guard your obedience like it's treasure, because it is. Every step you take from here must be intentional. Every yes must be rooted in God's voice, not in pressure from people. Every no must be protected by your conviction, not by fear. Because the truth is, chosen one, the kingdom is not impressed by how loudly you start. It's watching how faithfully you continue. And your continuation after the breakthrough will be the loudest testimony you ever carry. Chosen one, this is the season where your movements carry a weight they never carried before. Every step you take, every word you speak, Every decision you make now echoes beyond the moment. You've stepped into a spiritual dimension where your obedience isn't just about you. It's affecting generations, shifting atmospheres, and dismantling assignments of darkness that were in motion long before you were even born. That's why your last move was so significant. Heaven didn't just celebrate it because you made a good decision. Heaven celebrated because that decision aligned perfectly with a divine timeline. There are certain things in your life that could only happen after you said yes in that exact moment. Had you hesitated, had you waited, had you chosen the comfortable road, you would have missed a window that only opens once in a lifetime. The angels rejoiced because they saw what you couldn't see. They saw the ripple effect your choice would have. They saw the chain reactions in the spiritual realm. Doors breaking open in territories you didn't even know your name had reached. They saw enemies fleeing without a fight because your obedience disrupted their plans before they could even launch them. But here's what you have to understand. Victory doesn't remove the need for vigilance. Just because you've won one battle doesn't mean the war is over. In fact, your last victory has likely put a bigger target on your back. This is why God is going to require a deeper level of discipline from you now. The grace you carried in the last season was enough for the tests you faced then, but this new season demands an upgraded version of you. This is why you may feel a sudden pull toward stillness and separation. It's not isolation. It's elevation. God is fine-tuning your hearing because the instructions for this season will be specific, and they will require immediate action. There won't be time to pray about it for weeks when He already gave you the green light in your spirit. You'll have to move when He whispers, because His whisper is a command disguised in gentleness. And you're going to notice this. Opportunities that look appealing but aren't aligned will start presenting themselves. This is the enemy's way of testing whether you understand the difference between a good thing and a God thing. In this season, good is not good enough. If it's not assigned, it's a distraction. And distractions in this phase are expensive. They cost time, energy, focus, and momentum. Remember this: the same obedience that brought you here is the same obedience that will take you further. The temptation will be to relax now that you've seen a win. But chosen one, you are not here to celebrate prematurely. You are here to keep advancing until the fullness of the promise is in your hands. That's why heaven didn't just send angels to watch you, it sent them to walk with you. Your last move was the sound of faith in motion. Your next moves will be the sound of destiny fulfilled. And every time you step in sync with God's plan, the sound of celebration in heaven will only get louder. Chosen one, momentum is your greatest ally right now. The victory you've just walked into is not an isolated event. It's the ignition point of a chain reaction. Heaven has been preparing for years. But here's the truth. Momentum is a double-edged sword. If you keep moving with God, it will carry you further than your effort alone ever could. But if you slow down, hesitate, or get distracted, that same momentum can be lost in a heartbeat. This is why the atmosphere around you feels different. You may have noticed the air is heavier with purpose, the days feel shorter, and your spirit is more alert than usual. That's because you're no longer walking in ordinary time. You're walking in divine time. The clock you're following now isn't measured by hours and minutes. It's measured by obedience and faith. And when you're in divine time, one day of obedience can outweigh 10 years of striving. The angels that rejoiced over your last move haven't returned to their posts. They're still assigned to you. They are clearing paths, silencing whispers of doubt, and ensuring that every obstacle you face is one you're already equipped to overcome. But they cannot make the next move for you. They can only protect the ground you gain when you take it. And make no mistake, the enemy is aware of the shift. That's why you might feel an increase in subtle resistance. It may not always show up as an obvious attack. Sometimes it will come in the form of unnecessary conversations, draining relationships, or sudden opportunities that seem too perfect to turn down. But you will know them by their fruit. Anything that dims your fire, divides your focus, or delays your progress is not from God. In this season, your spiritual discernment is worth more than gold. Every yes must be intentional, and every no must be unapologetic. You are not here to explain your boundaries to anyone who doesn't understand them. You are here to protect the assignment that caused heaven to rejoice in the first place. And here's the deeper layer. The joy in heaven was never just about what you did, but who you became in the process. That last move proved that you've crossed a threshold in your faith. You are no longer the person who needs constant reassurance before obeying. You've become someone who moves at the sound of God's whisper. That level of trust is rare, and it's exactly why your steps are now being multiplied. Chosen one, you cannot afford to let this fire burn out. Your next move is not just about maintaining your victory, it's about expanding it. God didn't just open a door for you to walk through. He opened it so you could hold it open for others who will follow your path. Every step you take now is paving a road for someone else's breakthrough. So stay sharp, stay surrendered, stay moving. Because the next time the angels rejoice, it won't just be for one move. It will be for a season of unstoppable advancement that shakes the very foundations of darkness. Chosen one, when heaven celebrates you, it's never just for a single act. It's for the chain of victories your obedience has set into motion. Right now, the sound of that celebration is echoing in the spiritual realm, and whether you feel it or not, it's creating ripples that are touching places you haven't even stepped into yet. This is why certain doors are swinging open without you knocking, and certain paths are being cleared before you arrive. But here's where many stumble. After a moment of breakthrough, they relax too much. They assume the fight is over. They stop praying with the same fire, stop listening with the same urgency, and stop moving with the same boldness. But chosen one, this is not the time to coast. This is the time to double down. Because with every level you rise to, there are new assignments from heaven and new resistance from hell. You have to remember that what you carry isn't normal. It's not casual. It's not common. And because of that, you can't afford to treat this season like it's business as usual. Every day is a strategic step in a divine plan that has been unfolding since before you were born. You are literally living inside the fulfillment of prophecies spoken over your life. And the enemy's only hope is to distract you long enough to miss the fullness of it. That's why the people around you are shifting. Some are suddenly drawing closer because they sense the grace on your life. Others are quietly stepping back because they can't handle the light you carry. Don't waste time chasing the ones who leave. Their exit is part of the pruning that makes room for the right voices to stand with you. And understand this: angels don't rejoice because you win in the eyes of people. They rejoice because you win in the eyes of God. That last move you made wasn't about impressing anyone. It was about proving that you trust Him more than you trust your own logic. That's why the spiritual realm took notice. That's why there's a new weight to your presence. And that's why You can't afford to let the noise of the world drown out the instructions you've been given. The days ahead aren't just about holding ground. They're about taking new territory and doing it without hesitation. Because the same God who gave you the courage for your last move has already equipped you for your next one. You're not starting over. You're starting ahead. Chosen one, momentum like this is rare. Don't waste it. Don't water it down. Don't let anyone convince you to slow your pace to match their comfort. The same heaven that erupted in joy over your obedience is ready to roar again. But this time, it will be for victories so great they'll be talked about for generations. Chosen one, part of the reason angels rejoiced over your last move is because it wasn't just a victory for you. It was a strike against darkness. It disrupted plans the enemy had been weaving for months, maybe even years. It silenced voices that had been speaking against your destiny. It broke cycles that would have tried to entangle not just you, but those connected to you. What you did carried generational weight. You might not fully see it yet, but your act of obedience became a covering for others. It created openings for blessings to flow into places where there had been blockages. It shifted atmospheres, altered timelines, and ensured that certain disasters never reached you or your lineage. That's why the celebration in heaven wasn't quiet. It was thunderous. And now, the spotlight of the spirit realm is on your next step. Not because God doubts you, but because your life is becoming a living testimony of what happens when someone refuses to bow to fear. Every time you move in faith, the ripple effect grows stronger. That's why attacks have been coming in unexpected ways. That's why old wounds have tried to reopen. That's why the enemy is whispering distractions wrapped in opportunities. But chosen one, this is the time to be sharper than ever. You must discern what's sent to help you versus what's sent to drain you. You must guard the vision God placed in your heart with the same intensity you used to fight for your freedom. Because just as much as heaven is watching to bless you, hell is watching to bait you. This is why you've been feeling a pull to simplify, to cut off noise, to limit access, to keep certain details of your life hidden until the right time. You're not being paranoid, you're being positioned. There are moves you're about to make that require stealth, because when they manifest, they will be undeniable. And when they do, it won't just be angels rejoicing. It will be people's faith being revived because they saw what God did for you. So hold your ground. Stay in sync with His voice. And remember, the same obedience that made heaven erupt once can make it roar again. But this time, the sound will be even louder, because it will mark not just a personal breakthrough, but a public one that shifts the atmosphere everywhere you go. And when that moment comes, the world will know it wasn't luck. It was destiny, sealed by your unwavering faith.